It is 7:01 p.m. Today is Monday, the 23rd of November, 2020, and this is a regularly scheduled workshop meeting. Oh, my lights just went out. First, we'll start with a roll call. Mrs. Green.
Here.
Mr. Ruggiero.
Present.
Mr. Manley.
Here.
Oh, how you doing, Scott? Mr. Lobiondo
Here.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Here.
Okay. Everybody, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
To the
of
flag
the United States of
United States of
America.
America, and to the
and to the
republic
republic
which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
Under God.
with
indivisible,
liberty and
with
justice.
liberty and
and
justice.
justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Supervisor, any changes to the agenda?
So Petty, I have no changes.
I got none.
I have
Okay.
none.
None.
Okay, next we go on to item 5, approval of the audit.
Looking for a motion to approve this audit in the amount of $2,862,804.81.
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
Any discussion? Mrs. Green?
I abstain.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 6 for the engineering department, a budget transfer for Crossroads Sewer District.
Yeah, James Osborne, the town engineer, is requesting a transfer, and the reason for this transfer is the increased charges from the city of Newburgh for treatment and disposal of sewage from the Crossroads Consolidated Sewer District. So he's looking for a $230,000 transfer from the interfund transfer G 5010.9902.5900, and that's going to go to the contracted treatment services of G 5010.8130.5456. So someone want to make that motion?
So move.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 7 for animal control.
All right, and Cheryl Cunningham, Animal Control Officer, is asking to make a withdrawal from the 294 account in the amount of $287, and that is to TARA, Animal Rights Alliance. And this is not taxpayer money, but a donation account. So someone want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 8 for the Highway Department, promotion to MEO position.
All right, so Mark Hall, our Highway Superintendent, is recommending that we promote Frank Marr to an MEO 1A, from an MEO 1A to an MEO position. And it's in the 2020 budget, and it's in accordance with the CSEA contract. Starting date November 30th, 2020, if someone can make that motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 9, labor attorney agreement for 2021, Romer, Wallens, Gold, and Manu.
Okay, and this would be for the new year, so this will not be funds from this year, but this vote will make it that will be on the at the reorganization meeting that we will appoint this firm. She's been This firm has been labor attorneys for many years, and they're looking to be reappointed with a monthly retainer of $3,300 per month. So if we're in favor of this, and Elaine Gold, we will make a motion to keep her a labor attorney for 2021.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 10, a tax settlement for Amar Limited Liability Company.
All right, so this is a tax certiorari case, and it has to do with 5 Genie Drive. Now, Mark, if you're out there, we've had this for some time, but can you give us a quick rundown? Our town attorney, Mark Taylor.
Well, let me try to unmute myself.
He muted himself.
Mark, I
Hey,
think
Mark.
you got to unmute yourself, Mark.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I can hear you now.
So this parcel is at the northeast corner of the intersection of Route 300 and Genie Drive. The owner has appealed the assessment for 2019 and 2020. The settlement provides for a reduction of $81,800 in the 2019 assessment and a reduction of $181,500 in the 2020 assessment, going from $1,080,000 in assessed value to $898,500 assessed value for 2020. That assessment will remain fixed for an additional 3 years, not subject to challenge or adjustment by the town unless certain circumstances warrant changes under the statute. The total refund liability for the town, including town and highway taxes, but not special districts or the fire district, will be about $1,239 for 2019, depending on whether there's a reduction prior to the 2020 roll being submitted and the judge signing the order. There may be an additional refund liability of $2,749 for the 2020 tax bill.
Okay. So we've had a chance to look at it, and I guess this is the recommendation from our certiorari attorney, also Kathy Drobny. So does someone want to make a motion to settle this 5 Genie Drive, please?
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
I have a question. I see on this list for each of the years, a library tax. That's part of the Newburgh School District. Wouldn't that appear on their school tax bill rather than their property tax bill? Mark?
Yes, it would, but we do also, this is basically just a breakdown of the liabilities, and they break out the school and the library because they are separate items on the.
But wouldn't the school have to approve it in their passing of the certiorari and not us? It just popped into my mind when I looked at all this today, and it just popped into my mind now, that old hat of being the receiver of taxes.
Yeah, the school district is a signatory to the agreement, to the settlement agreement also.
Okay, well, I don't know if, since this is the categories that the town is responsible for, other than the library, I didn't know if that would have a bearing on it. But I'll go by what you tell me.
So I think we have a motion and a second, don't we, Joe?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we could vote it.
Yes, Mrs. Green,
Abstain.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 11 for the accounting department, a set of budget transfers.
Okay, so here again, our Ron Klum, our town accountant, is talking about some transfers, and of course, we get near the end of the year. But I'm going to ask for a motion as presented, because there's transfers here ranging from $5,000 to $37,000. So we look for a motion as presented on these transfers.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Then next we go on to item 12, property purchase request for Anchor Drive.
All right, so last year we purchased the Anchorage property on the waterfront, and now we have a neighbor, Nicholas DeBreezy, and he's asking if he could purchase a certain portion of our land. So I just want to poll the board to see if there's any interest. I think I'll poll Betty first. Betty, you have any interest in selling any part of that property at this time?
at this time, no, I do not.
Okay. Go to Councilman Ruggiero, any interest in selling any of that property at this time?
No. Nope.
Okay, then I'll go to Scott Manley. Any interest, Scott, at
No,
this time?
no.
I'll go to Anthony Lobiondo.
No, no interest.
Okay. And for myself, the same thing, no interest. I think it's way too soon to be selling off anything. So we will
Yes.
answer Mr. DeBreezy that not at this time, but thanks for his interest. Okay, with that, Joe, we can move on, I guess.
Okay, next we go on to item 13, a proclamation for Small Business Saturday.
So this is a proclamation, and I got to give Scott Manley some credit here for putting this together. And it talks about Saturday and the importance of shopping local. And it's probably more important than ever, the way things have been to the local retailers. So I'm going to ask Scott, can you read this off for us, Scott, please?
Yeah, just want to give a quick background. Obviously, small businesses are very much hurting. It was just a report out today about the big businesses, the billions of dollars they made, but small businesses are down $200 billion. Saturday Shop Small Saturday. I've been pushing the small businesses for ages. Anthony Lobiondo, as soon as he became a councilman, jumped right on there with me. And both Anthony and Councilman Ruggiero have their own small business, so it means a lot to all of us. And we need to support our local businesses. So based on that, we're doing a proclamation for the town board. Whereas the town of Newburgh, New York celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. According to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 31.7 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.9% of all firms and paid employees in the United States, are responsible for 65.1% of net new jobs created from 2000 to 2019. And whereas small businesses employ 47.1% of the employees in the private sector in the United States, 62% of the United States small businesses reported that they need to see consumer spending return to pre-COVID levels by the end of 2020 in order to stay in business. 65% of the United States small business owners said it would be the most helpful to their businesses to have their regulars return and start making purchases again. And 3/4 of consumers are currently looking for ways to shop small and support their community. And whereas 96% of consumers who shopped on Small Business Saturday agree that shopping at small independently owned businesses support their commitment to making purchases that have been positive social, economic, and environmental impact. And 90% of consumers who shop in Small Business Saturday agree that small businesses are essential to their communities. And whereas 95% of communities who shop in Small Business Saturday reported the day makes them want to shop or eat at small, independently owned businesses all year long, not just during the holiday season. And whereas the town of Newburgh, New York supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Newburgh do by here proclaim November 28th, 2020 as Small Business Saturday.
All right, very good, Scott. Appreciate that. I know someone will make a motion on this proclamation, and then we will advertise.
I'll make the motion.
I'll gladly second the motion.
Any further discussion? Mrs.
I
Green?
just like,
Go ahead.
I just like to thank Scott for this and Anthony too. And I really want to get involved with you guys more on this, being a small business owner myself. So thank you, both of you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
And I'll make the motion to approve this.
I think the motion was already made by Councilman Ruggiero, and it
Oh,
was seconded by Councilman Lobiondo. Okay, let's vote on it. Mrs. Green?
yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 14, Recreation Department. Wait, my lights just went out.
Motion lights.
My timer went out. It got dark. Approval
We
to
can hear
hire,
you, Joe.
approval to hire back, but I couldn't read. It was dark. Approval to hire part-time laborer.
Does someone want to make a motion here?
So
I'll
moved.
make the motion.
Beat you to it.
Okay, but I think somebody has to read out what the motion is, because I'm not.
Oh, okay. It's for,
Oh, I understand that. Okay. The motion is to hire someone in recreation, part-time laborer starting after December the 7th, 2020, to replace one of our employees who has resigned. And I am making that motion. The person going to be hired, I don't see. Oh, yes, I do. Gilbert, sorry about that. Gilbert Piaquadio Jr. as a part-time laborer. As I said, starting after December the 7th.
okay, so Councilwoman Green made the motion. Is there a second, please?
Well, I
I'll
think
second
was the amount put in the hourly wage, and I didn't hear that. But
Yes, sir. It's an hourly
Okay.
salary of $12.50.
good.
May I have a second to Councilwoman Green's motion?
I second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio.
Abstain.
Next, we go on to item 15 for adjournment.
All right, so we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
before we adjourn, I would like to wish everybody a happy, safe, and healthy Thanksgiving on Thursday.
Thank you, Betty. You as well.
Thank you. You too.
You too.
Absolutely. Same to everyone.
And may I
So we
have
have
a
that
mo-
Anybody
motion to
listening?
adjourn.
Happy Thanksgiving.
may
I'll
I have a
second the
motion?
motion.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Scott got it.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn at 7:22 PM. Mrs. Green?
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy
Okay.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy
Michelle.
Thanksgiving.
You too,
Bye-bye.
Good
Michelle.
night.